we have Crystal of ZapCristal YouTube channel that features a lot of retro gaming content. She does everything from live streaming games to hitting up conventions, and she also interviews retro content creators. So, Crystal, tell me, when did you get your YouTube channel started up?
I started my YouTube channel many years ago, like around 6 to 7 years actually. But as I explained to my community, my channel has gone through phases of rebranding. So we were kind of, experimenting through different categories until we landed in gaming. And that's when I felt like the channel was starting to be well established and known. And also because it's based on personal experiences, just because I grew up within a family that everyone is considered a gamer, and that was a symbol of family time, good quality time. So yes, so I'm actually sharing my personal experiences from my childhood, from my family, and from way back then.
Right. And what was your first system? What was your first console?
My first system, it was actually the NES. It was, yeah, I have a lot of vivid memories about it, specifically because those that know me know that my holy grail is Miss Pac-Man. And it's precisely because that was the very first game I actually got to play back then. So I
Right.
felt an instant connection. And that's how I fell in love with retro gaming in general.
I'm glad I put that as the first video on the playlist and your Pac-Man collection. I
Yes,
got the,
yes, that
I
is.
got
Uh-huh.
that was your favorite without even knowing.
Yes, that is my holy grail, and and specifically the game I'm more inclined to, because there's a lot of different versions of obviously, would be the unlicensed one, the Tengen version. So yeah, that was the one that clicked with my childhood.
And you prefer just like a stock one? Because I know some people put those speed chips in there, from what I know, and some people prefer that. You prefer the stock, just the stock speed?
No, I don't. I actually enjoy playing it just how it originally was.
Right.
I don't know. I guess it's just a preference because that's how I remember it. So I feel like if I tweak it, it's just, yes, I feel it's going to ruin my memory.
Right. Now,
So yeah.
when you had so Nintendo, you were saying Nintendo was your first console?
Yes, yes, it was actually my very first console, but I think that later then, my dad actually brought a system that was meant for my brother and I. NES already existed beforehand, so it wasn't really like, oh, this is my system, something that my parents purchased just for me. I
Right.
guess the one that really belonged to us would be eventually Nintendo 64. I do remember that it was on, Christmas Day. Obviously, you only have two times during the year that you can ask for expensive stuff. Birthday and Christmas. During Christmas Day, we actually got to unveil, a Nintendo 64, and our first game was the just Mario 64, obviously. And I know that
Right.
back then we were just blown away because graphics had evolved so much. And yeah, my brother and I were hooked actually with that game. So I think from there on, we actually felt like we had ownership over a peculiar, system, which was, in this case, Nintendo 64.
Do you have any, because I know you're into Pac-Man, the arcade. Did you have like a local arcade, or like it's a mall, or growing up, was there
Uh,
one you visited a lot?
well, yes, there was actually, well, in my time, yeah, there were arcades, but where we were permitted to go, I guess because, my family could afford it, was usually, pizzerias. You would go to different restaurants, and I don't know if you remember that, but usually every restaurant had one or two arcades.
Oh yeah.
And I remember my dad would give me this big jar of change, and my dad would say, like, once, you ran out of change. That's it. That's your time. You have to give up, and we'll go back home. So we usually would go to pizzerias and stuff. But I also remember back then, and I know it sounds kind of weird, but back then we had it almost was kind of like a Blockbuster, but it wasn't it wasn't an official Blockbuster store. But it was one of these places where you could go rent movies. And in that store, they also had arcade cabinets. They had like one or two, and within those cabinets was Miss Pac-Man. So every time my dad usually it was Friday or Saturdays, he was like, let's go, all together. We're going to rent some movies, buy some popcorn, and we're going to have a movie night. I would definitely always tell my dad to take me with you, but it was because I just wanted to go and play at those arcades. So yeah, it's kind of some of the memories, but I do remember, going to lots of official arcades back then too. And I don't know if you got to do that, but you know how you usually would put a quarter on top of the cabinet just to let everybody know that, that was
Right.
your turn as soon as somebody was up. Yeah, I would usually do that, and especially like for Street Fighter and all that stuff. So yeah, I do remember those tournaments and all that stuff back then.
Did you have any other favorites? I know you mentioned Street Fighter. Like, was there any like go-to ones you felt like you had the most skill at? Like any fighting games or?
I love Dig Dug. That is just one I will always go
Right.
back to, because I do feel like I have a lot of skill in that game. I feel very comfortable playing it, and I also feel really comfortable playing Galaga. I love
Right.
Galaga. I know it's kind of difficult. It actually is pretty difficult till this day, but it's just one of those games that immediately if I see them at a barcade or something, it's just I'll go instantly first to those. Those are going to be like my first three choices. The Pac-Man, Dig Dug, Galaga. If it's a fighting game, then yeah, I'll go with Street Fighter. Though I'm more inclined to the first Mortal Kombat. Just because again I grew up with it, so that would be kind of like my.
I am too, because there's something. First of all, I always pick Sub-Zero because I like to do the freeze
Exactly.
move. There's something going on in Mortal Kombat 2, and I've asked other fans of the series this too, that whenever I throw the freeze in Mortal Kombat 2, they duck every time perfect, and I don't know why in the first one I don't get them. Do you experience that too? You can get them easier in the first one?
Yeah, definitely, and that's why I feel like I probably do connect more with Mortal Kombat than even with Street Fighter. Like, I don't know, I know that Street Fighter is a good fighting game. I mean, clearly everyone knows, but there's something about the first series, Mortal Kombat, that I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the modern ones, of course. Now I feel like they're. I mean, I'm trying to be unbiased, but this is my opinion. I think it's totally going off to its roots. I feel like it's a little bit too gory nowadays, and I don't know. I don't feel comfortable sitting down anymore and playing, a modern Mortal Kombat. But the ones back then, yeah, that definitely I feel a little bit more comfortable, I guess.
No, I hear what you mean, because it's always been about the fatalities to some extent, but now it's kind of like only about the fatalities, like seeing the cut scenes, and it's like almost like that's taken over the actual gameplay, because when you had the first three, and then up to Ultimate Mortal Kombat, it was just as much about the stages, the environments, the
exactly,
and the characters, and it seems like they just want to just. It's like a B horror movie, like the most grotesque they can do for the fatality. I know what you're saying. It's moved away from it.
Yeah, that's exactly. Right. Yeah, you're spot on exactly on what I'm trying to explain, because you like you mentioned, you can interact with your environment. They were vivid, they were colorful. You needed to learn your gameplay mechanics. So the focus was really more into the gameplay mechanics than on the fatality. But nowadays, it's like a person will purchase a modern Mortal Kombat, but it's only based on how gory and how gruesome and how bad a fatality can look in the game. So I don't know, I just feel it lost its roots, honestly.
Right. Now moving up to new gen gaming, what are your go-to modern systems right now? You PlayStation, Xbox, or Switch?
Right now I have all three.
Okay.
I really don't have a preference, but again, if you were to ask me, what I'm more inclined when it comes to a system, I would tell you that I'm definitely a sucker for just seeing how well developers design games graphically and how they take advantage, of the Unreal Engine and all these engines that they use, to create these games. And I don't know how, in general, gaming has evolved. So I definitely prefer an Xbox when it comes to that because, you could see some games in their true 4K and you could just appreciate all the thought and time and effort that these studios have put into these games. But when it comes to playability, to just sitting down and having a good time, I'm definitely more inclined to Nintendo Switch. I'm definitely more into Nintendo just because, I mean, I guess we all know at this point that they are the masters of first party exclusives and they just know how to create a good quality game for the entire family. And yeah, so I definitely feel that when it comes to how much time I put into a specific system, usually I put a lot of time playing Nintendo than the other systems I have at home.
Right. This is one of the first times I've actually had all three. Oh, sorry about that. All three systems myself. I got a train coming by here. Um, Gotta love that. Um, I like having all three for the exclusives too. So many people get caught up on, I'm diehard PlayStation only. I hate the Xbox. So many people get caught up in that, and that always is
Yeah.
such a turn off for me to listen to that because I've always been the type. If a game's good, I want to play it. I don't care what console. So that's what I love about
Exactly.
having all three right now too. And I've never had all three consoles at other times in my life. Just you know, be it as it may, I had the extra income at this point now, and
Okay, yeah.
if it's a good game, I just want to play it.
Yeah,
And when you
definitely.
have,
It's like a uh-huh.
I was gonna say, when you have only one system, I would imagine that I almost think that that's where kind of some of the anger comes from with people, like because I think deep down, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, some of the PlayStation owners don't want to admit that they probably would like to play a little Halo or Gears of War sometimes. They don't want to admit that. And so they get mad and they're like, I hate Xbox, it sucks, this and this. But I bet you if you sat them down in a room and there was some Gears of War on the TV, I bet you they tried out a little bit. And maybe they wouldn't be so mad. I think that's what it is, and everybody tries to pick sides, right?
Yeah,
And they just want
exactly. And I
to
think
group.
uh-huh. Yeah, no, what I was trying to say is that I think that at the end of the day, when somebody comes to my channel, I've always let everybody know that we're completely unbiased and we don't stand girl about any specific system because I think that in general we should celebrate each company's progress at the end of the day. And each system has their own uniqueness. Like, for example, PlayStation has done an amazing job with VR. Even though VR is a small market, they have done an astounding job to be the first home system that brings VR and makes it a reality, and it runs really smooth. Xbox does an amazing job when it comes to, working on a good internet fan base service, their Game Pass, their graphics, their resolution. They do an amazing job. Nintendo, on the other hand, does an astounding job when it comes to bringing great first party exclusive games, bringing great quality content, um, just creating this environment of family friendly, and so I feel like at the end of the day, we should celebrate for just overall the advancement of where gaming has head to, and that at the end of the day, we should just love the idea that there is competition because it brings out the best of each company.
Absolutely. Now we're looking at footage of you right now with Pixel Dan. Talk to me about going to conventions, why you love it, being able to, how you get to meet a lot of the content creators out there, and if you become friends with them, and just paint the picture of, how you feel about going to cons.
So this year has been a really hard year. As you all know, we're all dealing with this COVID situation. So of course, a lot of events have been postponed or canceled or, just pushed back. And that does kind of make me feel kind of sad, because that's something that I think is a big part of our channel. And it's always going to these conventions. And it's I take it from an investigative journalism. So I'll always, interview content creators. I'll give an insight for those that have never had the opportunity to assist to one of these conventions, to see it through my eyes, and see what's going on in the gaming world, So we love to be creative every time we go to events. We'll do challenges, we'll play games, we'll ask like trivial questions. And there's always something new going on. And I treasure conventions mainly because I get to meet my friends, maybe friends that do not live close by from me. They're probably, 5, 6 hours away. And that one time throughout the year or 2 times is the time that we're like, okay, we finally can get together, take a breather, from what we do, and then just be there for each other. And it's beautiful. I have been privileged to meet so many astounding video content creators, as like you mentioned right now, Pixel Dan. I think Pixel Dan is amazing. And he's so humble, and he's just so available, I've also spoken to 8-Bit Eric. I've spoken to Retro Rick, a lot of small channels, but also a lot of big channels, right now. Like I remember years ago, I got to meet Wood from Beat 'em Up, and now y'all know nowadays that he has a big channel. And
right.
J Love, J Love 81. I mean, the list is long. I could just go on and on with people that I've met throughout the years, and some people that maybe might sound controversial, but just having the privilege of being there, and interviewing them, like for example, Billy Mitchell. And people like that, it's just a good feeling, of starting small and then being in a place where everybody knows you, and you can get along. You're kind of like, I guess almost like a peacemaker.
Yeah, and speaking of Billy Mitchell, he seems like a guy that if you met him in person, he'd be really, really cool and down to earth. I think in that documentary, he was just kind of trying to keep up that persona of the legend or whatever of his scores. And I think that because I've seen him live stream playing Pac-Man and stuff before. I think he was doing it on Twitch for a while, and he does seem very down to earth. And I'm sure you got that vibe from him too, from what you're saying.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like for example, I don't generally accuse anyone until I kind of speak to that person personally. So I keep my opinions reserved, and I'm not going to lie, I did have, somewhat some doubts, but then once I met this man in person and I spoke to him for 3 days, for 3 entire days, and not only speak to him, is that we continue having a good friendship. Like I am actually friends with his wife, and we speak on a daily basis,
Oh,
so
wow.
it's not only like, oh, I just want an interview with you. That's it for my channel, just to grow my audience. No, I always try to talk with someone, and generally my goal is that maybe after the interview, we can actually become friends and help each other grow. So that's why I've always been big about growing a community. We're a community, we're a family, because that's how it should be at the end of the day. So yeah, when I spoke to him, he actually mentioned that. He mentioned how he had this character, this persona, that anybody that understands how that world works knows that he has to give this impression like he's the bad guy, and
Right.
It's funny how good he does it, because it's like there's people actually upset, actually mad, but once he's not into that character and persona, He's the most down-to-earth, sweetest man ever. Like, he'll take care of you. He would correct me. He would help me direct the video. And it was just so nice, even like after the convention that I spoke to him about the video and shared it and all that. And he would go and follow me. Like, he would go and follow and like the videos and share it and just take the time to thank me when I should be thanking him. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that meant a lot to me. That said a lot about who he is. And I also observed how partners treat each other. And I studied how she treats him. And you could see, that how much love and respect she has for her man. And that says a lot, too.
What are some of, like, when you think of memories you've had going to conventions, whatever conventions you've been to, what are some of the moments that you could maybe share with us that stand out in your mind? Either people you've talked to, or experiences you've had, or it could even be games, things you pick up. And I know at the end of the day, it's not as much about the items, about the experience. But what are anything that comes to mind just about going to conventions and some memories you've had?
Oh, wow. Limited to one, or can I share more than one?
Oh, just as many as you want, yeah.
Okay. I guess my first memory was actually when I arrived to Texas for the very first time. I had always spoken to these different people, but had never had the chance to meet them face to face. And when I say people, content creators, without going too much into detail of their names. So when I got to the convention, I felt instantly like I was always meant to be in Texas, and that Texas automatically became my home because everyone in the convention just came running towards me and just hugging me and saying, "Oh, Crystal is here. She made it. She's finally here." And it was at Retropalooza. That was my very first Retropalooza experience. I think the best thing that happened that day was that a friend of mine, I don't know if you know him, his channel is OK Chief. We call him Richie as his nickname. So he comes to me and he's like, "Hey, I have a panel on Sunday. It's going to be, Loteria. Y'all," and Damien, his friend that helps him, run the panel, he's like, "Do you want to be in the panel with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds fun." And I'm never going to forget that because it was my very first experience being on a panel with them. And I didn't feel nervous at all. Like, everybody had a blast. And I even have, like, videos of it just because I wanted to, like, keep that in my little, like, treasure chest of memories. So that meant a lot to me. A second memory that I have that I always going to treasure, and this was kind of weird how it happened. On Sunday, when we were packing up, I was sitting getting ready with my camera to film, and all of a sudden Pat, the NES punk, I don't know if y'all know who he is, but probably you do.
Definitely.
He walks in, and he does a second, and I know who he is, so I try to keep, my straight face, but I can't, I'm looking. And he looks at me, and I guess he just realized, like, "How are you doing? Good morning. Did you sleep well?" And I got shook because it was the way he spoke to me, like I feel like he knew me,
Right.
And then it was not even about, "Oh, I'm fat, I have this YouTube channel." No, it was so normal, And then he just kept talking to me. He's like, "Oh, well, I just came tired. It's like I got my luggage. I'm packing up stuff. I came off of the plane, girl. It's just things that happen." It was just so normal that it was funny. But I treasure it because till this day, he actually remembered. Like, last time I was at his live stream, and he's like, "Zap, I think I've seen you." "Yeah, I saw you." He's like, "I remember I didn't even know that you were Zap." And he's like, "And I met you at Retropalooza." And I was like, wow, he actually has a good memory because he does remember me.
Right.
So, yeah, that was a very special moment for me. And then my last memory, my most recent one, was actually meeting Billy Mitchell. That was a big thing for me because when I went to that convention, everybody told me from the spot, no one has the privilege to record with them. So it's going to be pretty hard that someone can have those doors open. But I'm always, a girl that likes to hustle. So I was like, no, we're going to make this work. And I just was so persistent and so consistent with what I was doing until he looked at me, and it came from him. I didn't even ask him. He was like, you know what? Just let me know when you want to record, what you want to do, and we'll set a day and we'll set the time, and count with me, I'm going to be there. And
Nice.
I was in shock because as soon as I heard him say that, I was like, bingo, the door's open. And as soon as I told my friends were in shock, like, oh my God, you are the only person here in the convention that actually is going to have the opportunity to speak with them and do something. Like, yeah, that's a big deal. So I felt really privileged to this day that he gave me the opportunity to do that.
Right. And it's all about the way you present things, You never know unless you present something the right way that you could get a yes out of somebody like that. Like a perfect example of what you just said. And it's the way you went about it in a professional way. And he saw that, I'm sure, and he felt comfortable. So that's the key.
Yeah,
Now,
definitely.
Now jumping ahead to this Dallas vintage toys, I'm in heaven here because aside from retro game collecting, I'm obsessed with 80s, 90s action figures. And this is an unbelievable collection from this footage I'm seeing and the way they present them. Clear cases. Tell me about going in this store.
That is one of my favorite toy stores. I literally call it a toy paradise because it really is that. It's a toy paradise for anybody that's into toy collecting. That is another big moment of my life. I'm so privileged of being able to be there supporting them because they just inaugurated that place. That is their new store location, and they needed to choose a YouTuber of honor, and I didn't expect it. So they actually ended up messaging me, selecting me as a YouTuber of honor to be there that day with them. So I felt super privileged of celebrating that big day and actually helping them film the place. That was a sneak peek. Actually, the store wasn't even open. So I was just kind of giving a sneak peek to everyone of what the store was going to look like inside before the grand day. So their store is huge right now. It's way much bigger. They have way more space. They have over 10,000 pieces of inventory. He told me that time that was coming in on Tuesday.
Wow.
And they have a variety from toys within the 70s until the modern era. So it blows your mind away how well taken care these toys and everything he has overall, lunch boxes, you name it. It's like anything you can think of that was back then, that existed back then, he has it in that store. G.I. Joe's, what can I tell you? Transformers, Scooby-Doo, Inspector Gadget. We can go on and on with that, but it's really impressive.
And it's not that it's not even just like a little selection of each line. It looks like the complete lines of these toys.
Yeah, definitely. And he even has a room for those that are, into toy collecting where all these toys are graded. And that's where you break your piggy bank. But
right.
He has complete sets of Masters of the Universe and, He-Man. It's just so impressive when you walk through and see it with your own eyes and big statues. And now he actually, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but he actually hired somebody, an artist, and they did a whole mural and Master of the Universe and all that, and it was amazing. It actually felt like being in a small part of Disneyland. So I was impressed. I was totally impressed. And till this day, I could confidently say that is one of the best stores you can go to when it comes to toys.
I'm very jealous right now of all the stuff in Texas. You
Yeah,
know,
Texas, when they say that everything is huge and big, yeah, they ain't lying about it.
I'm in a place that is kind of a tourist trap myself. Florida, but like
Yeah.
just from the for a collector's standpoint, you guys got us beat in Texas because they just seem to have much more of a scene catered to gaming and toys. So I'm definitely jealous of
Yeah.
that.
Well, maybe you should make a trip.
I know. I think I'm gonna have to. Um,
Yeah, it's yeah.
do you have any lines that you collect? I know you collect Pac-Man, but do you have any? Do you like into Ninja Turtles, or is there any Star Wars, or is there any line that you have a little collection of?
So when I collect, because I actually, part of games, I'm kind of like you. I'm more inclined to toys and just different things overall I had back then. The latest thing I completed was my 1994 Flintstone McDonald mug set. I don't know if y'all remember about that. I actually made a video showing, a little bit about the history of that, when the Flintstone movie came out. And I had those mugs back then, so I really wanted to have them again. And thankfully, I completed my set. So that was a big deal for me. So I'm such a big fan of the Jetsons, the Flintstones, so all those Hanna Barbera's, oldies. But also, like, I love to collect lunch boxes. Right now, one of the lunch boxes that I would like to recover again that I had back then was from the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I remember so
Right.
clearly having a red lunchbox, and I really want it back. So I was like, I'm searching constantly to see if I could recover that lunchbox again. And yeah, just things like that, knickknacks. Like, I love etch glasses. When it comes to toy figures, like I mentioned, I definitely love Scooby Doo. I'm like Inspector Gadget. I don't know. I'm not. I really don't have a specific preference when it comes to toys. I think it's just whatever I grew up with. That's just mainly what I'm going to go towards.
Right.
Um. So
Were
yeah,
those
and so I. Uh huh.
were those made by? Is it Thermos that made those plastic lunch boxes with the? Or was that just the name of the drink holder? There was like a brand, right, that made all those plastic ones that you open up, the snap case ones.
I think so. I would need to. I'll be honest. I would need to do some research. But yeah, the one I had, I remember it had a thermos inside, and it was white and it had like a little red lid, which usually was like the cup, obviously. Um, and the one I had, yeah, it was from the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And I know a lot of people have mixed opinions when it comes to that movie, but I actually enjoyed that movie. I liked it.
Movie's
So
amazing.
if I could
Movie's
find, huh?
That movie's amazing. That's got to still to this day be the best movie that incorporates people and cartoons. Way
I
better
know,
than
right?
way better than Space
Oh
Jam.
yeah. Sorry guys, but I mean, he's right. It is much better than Space Jam.
And you know why? I think that's the director that did Back to the Future. I mean, when we got the guy that did Back to the Future behind it and that did Forrest Gump, it's going to be a good movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love it till this day. And yes, it might have a little bit of sexual, content, but I feel like it wasn't anything like for people to panic and go all crazy.
Right.
Because nowadays, we've seen worse. But I feel like they did a pretty good job with the story and over. I love, the Little Rabbit. I think they did a good job overall with that movie, and it's just one of those movies that I would sit down and actually watch it all over
And the director Robert Zemeckis, I'm sure he understood that, and some directors don't understand this today, that when you're making a movie that you can have adults taking their kids to, you have to have something that the adults aren't falling asleep by the cheesiness, you know. So when you have
again.
like
Yeah,
a Roger Rabbit, it worked for adults and kids, and he understood that
exactly.
right in
Yeah,
that
he
line.
definitely did know how to cater for adults and for children. It's the same thing as movies that you go nowadays with your kids that are PG-13. The majority of the time, in those movies they have inside jokes that a kid is not going to understand it. It's the adults that are going to get it. So, Yeah, it's definitely. I've seen an increase, with movies nowadays. But I think the, producers and the directors are actually doing a good job catering different audiences.
Now, while we're on the topic of movies, even though it's like a side thing, where does your heart go when you think of movies? Are you like a Disney person? Are there? You said you like Hanna Barbera, Jetsons, Flintstones. What? But those are TV shows, obviously. What are some favorite movies? Are you into superhero movies? Are you into, talk about kind of like growing up, what kind of movies you loved and stuff like that.
Uh, so my family, it was kind of mixed. We were always inclined to action movies, comedy, um, yeah, a lot of TV shows that all of a sudden were turned into movies and stuff like that. Like, for example, Ghostbusters. I mean, who doesn't love Ghostbusters? That's one movie that I definitely enjoy till this day. Back to the Future. I've loved the entire series of Back to the Future. It's just one of those movies that I'm never going to get tired.
Right.
But specifically, I love the first Back to the Future. I don't know what it is, but that's my favorite movie. I don't like too much the third part. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out till this day why I don't click with it. But if you ask me which one is my favorite, yeah, it's the first one. Indiana Jones is my favorite. I love the movies. I love the TV show. I love everything about Indiana Jones. I think it's an excellent movie and TV show overall. And I think the main reason why I do like it is because I remember sitting down with my dad and having that father and daughter quality time and just seeing him enjoy it. It kind of fulfilled me and filled me with happiness and joy.
Right.
My dad used to watch Star Trek. Obviously, y'all remember that one. And I won't say it's my favorite, but it was kind of similar too. I remember sitting down with him and just enjoying it. And yeah, I could go on and on actually. Right now, nowadays, the modern era, I've kind of got put off with movies. I don't know why. Because every time I want to enjoy something about the movie, it's like there's just something that doesn't click with me, and I just can't connect. But
Right.
the only movie that I will say right now that I recently watched and I did connect was with the Joker. A lot of people have a lot of mixed opinions regarding to that movie, but I think overall, I forgot the name of the actor actually who did the
Joaquin.
what was the name? I forgot. Yeah, from the movie The Joker. Now the recent one they did. If you study that with an open mind, you're going to understand so many things that are happening now in society when it comes to mental illness. And I think that he did such a good job showcasing how badly mental illness can go if not treated. But again, you need to watch it with an open mind because if not, you're going to be super offended. And it's not even so much about the timeline. It's just explaining his origins, his roots. And it touched me. I'm going to lie, it did touch me. And it got me
Right.
thinking for a couple of days, regarding to people that suffer anxiety, depression, a lot of stuff that sometimes we dismiss or make it seem like it's not important, and how we can help people, that are struggling, especially now with the whole COVID thing, So yeah, it's definitely a movie that I think it was a good.
For sure, and it deals with the bullying culture today. Unfortunately, there's that bullying culture,
Yeah.
and that a lot of the negative stuff that's going on, and yeah, it definitely does kind of center around a lot of the stuff going on these days. I'm with you on Back to the Future 3. There was something about that too. I'm not a big Western guy. I loved 1 and 2. I mean, one is like perfect. A lot of people criticize the second one. They're like, "Oh, it's too dark at the end." I kind of like how realistic it was. It showed what would have happened, you know, if things had gone a different way. You see Marty, and he's like a failed musician. He gets fired
Yeah.
from his job and all. And the Cafe 80s. I mean, that's one of the great sets ever. in movies and all the effects in it. So I love the first. I'm with you on not really digging the third one.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It feels like more of a spin-off, if you ask me.
Right.
That's what I actually feel about that third one. Yeah.
And Harrison Ford just makes. I mean, who else could have been Indiana Jones? I can't think of anybody. You know, they were looking at Tom Selleck, the Indiana Jones.
Really?
Imagine. I mean, I don't have anything against Tom Selleck, but nobody could have been Indiana Jones but Harrison Ford.
No,
He
no,
just
yeah, definitely. I totally agree on that. Harrison did such an astounding job as Indiana Jones that it's just iconic. You think about Indiana and immediately you think about him.
and I think I'm not sure. Some people probably forget that was a collaboration with Spielberg and Lucas. So when you had those two guys come together for a trilogy, I mean, you're gonna have magic.
Yeah, definitely. And I was like, I don't know if it's a thing still today, but I remember in Universal Studios, how it was called back then. I don't know how it's called right now. Uh, they had a attraction dedicated to Indiana Jones,
Right.
and I always wanted to go. I remember that, but that iconic scene that's like that big boulder and all that. They just recreated that. I never had the opportunity actually. I don't know if it's still open till this day. I don't think so, right?
I
I'm
know
talking about
that.
way back.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It was like the live action Indiana Jones, and it had explosions. I know they had it at the Universal Studios here in Orlando. I'm not sure if they still do it, but they definitely had like stunt actors recreate scenes from the movies, and it was awesome. I
Yeah,
definitely saw it when I was younger when they had it.
yeah, yeah. It was good. I wish I could. If it's still open, I mark it on my list. I'm going to make a trip with my dad and just go directly there.
Right. I think what happened with Universal, they kind of remodeled it, at least the one here in Orlando, and they made it more roller coasters now, which for me, I kind of liked more the movie experiences because I want to kind of relive the movies more than because let's face it, if you want to go to like go on roller coasters, you could go to like Six Flags, right? To me, Universal
Exactly.
Studios was more about living the movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. They definitely had this one ride. I'm never going to forget it. And it just gives you a quick run through all the historical and famous films like Wizard of Oz and Indiana Jones and Dancing, Under the Rain and all these musicals and all that. And I was like, I'm never going to forget that ride. It was one of my favorites because I was like, wow, I'm actually inside of these scenes where they had their props and where many of these things were even used, in the movies. Um, so yeah, they really
right
did a good job.
now, have you gotten to do because I know you've met so many people through these conventions. Have you gotten to do any collaborations with other channels in any of your videos?
Yes, that's actually a thing now. My channel's actually entering in this space that because of COVID, and I think it's the bestest thing that could have ever happened, actually. We were trying to be creative, and I was talking to my friends, and I was like, well, we can't see each other. So how can we make it work? We need to support each other. So the idea came like, well, let's make these Zoom calls. Let's be creative. Let's do these virtual interviews where everybody can do it from their house or anywhere, basically, and let their voice be heard, what they do and what their channel is about. So it just opened a whole new door for me right now, to be able to give the opportunity of letting my audience know, my community know, of these amazing people that are in the retro community. So, like, for example, I've been able to interview the immortal John Hancock, which that was such an honor for me because he's never, I'm not going to say given, but he's never had this opportunity of being interviewed by a female gamer. So I'm
Right.
actually kind of like the first female that he gave the opportunity of doing so. So that was amazing for me. I also got to interview G to the Next Level. I don't know if y'all know who he is. a great Sonic fan. That is his holy grail, and he talks a lot about Sega and all his retro collecting in general. And now, this is a secret, guys. I'm gonna spill the beans here. Day Love and I are actually on the works of doing a collab together. So that's going to be featured soon on my channel as well. So we're working on that a lot, of bringing a lot of content creators and doing these virtual interviews and just letting everybody know that we're still here, we're strong as a community.
Right, and this isn't going to stop us.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
We've wanted for a while to have more girl gaming channels interviewed. I've reached out to a bunch. A lot are really busy. What happens is a lot of times people, as it's hard to make a living off YouTube. So people are working, on their 9 to 5s, and they might have a family, and they're doing the channel. So it's hard to find time with some people. But we wanted. I wish it was half and half. Half our interviews were girl gamers, and half were guys, just to show how much both love gaming. That's we want to showcase that. And but it's just for whatever reason been a little more difficult to have it be half and half on our channel. That's why we're so happy we got you on.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's my main motivation. Every time I upload a video, every time I live stream, I just think about that, that I'm representing that female community that also enjoys gaming, that also enjoys toy collecting. And I want to share our perspective as a female of how we enjoy these things, how we see things, or think about, about certain movies or certain news that come out. Because let's be honest, this is pretty dominant by males. So when you could shift that and see it from a female's point of view, it does help you open your mindset and see it from different angles, especially also like not only as a female, but also from a minority group, from a Hispanic group. And you could see like, wow, it doesn't matter the color of your skin, your gender, your age, whatever it is, everybody can share the same passion and interest for gaming in general.
Absolutely. And it's about, that stereotype that was going around in like maybe the 80s, even into the 90s, that gamers are nerdy guys and they're like living in the basement or whatever. All these stereotypes that have proven to be so untrue, especially the last 2 decades. When you look at these conventions where they release all the new games every year, and they're like the biggest events of almost any event, and they're broadcast live, and it's so many people tune in on YouTube to see it, and you look at the people there, it's just probably as many girls as guys that go to those. So it's like we're in such a different time now than this stereotype that used to be painted about gamers.
Yeah, definitely, and there's so many professional people also. Like one can get pretty surprised. Pat is an author. Pixel Dan does an amazing job as a filmmaker. And reviewing toys, and there's just so many astounding people. The immortal John Hancock. He's a teacher on the side, and you get to study the life of these people apart from just YouTube and how they have time, for their family and all that stuff. And it's amazing. It is really a community, a family.
I think the most impressive thing about his collection, John Hancock, is that he was able to get, I'm pretty sure he has every single NES box, right?
He probably does. I bet, because right now he told me he's on the works of probably, well, that's going to take a couple of years, obviously, but of opening a museum, which, I mean, let's be honest, I think he can do it because he has every single person.
Right. And as you know, those NES boxes are extremely frail, and like they almost like disintegrate when you hold them in your hand. The flimsy cardboard. So it's unbelievable that he's able to have like almost 800 NES game, the boxes. To me, that's pretty crazy that he was able
That is.
to accumulate
And
all
mint
those.
condition, because last time when I
Right,
interviewed him, he was showing me one of his boxes, and I was just blown away of how well taken care of, were these boxes. Like, he really does take the time of caring for them and studying the history behind it because he's so knowledgeable. Like, I was just 20 minutes with him, and I was surprised of how much history he knows, about games and stuff. It
right,
even came to the point that I was like, you know what? Maybe I should study a little bit more and do a little bit more research myself. You know?
right. Is there
So
anybody
yeah.
that who are like the people that you haven't interviewed yet that you love to someday?
Oh God, that's such a good question. Um, there is one person that has been my inspiration, and I'll just spill it here, but eventually I'll do a video talking about that, of channels that are my inspiration for what I do. But someone that I really want to interview is Rerest. I don't know if you know who he is. Uh, he is
Is his name
an
Sean?
amazing. He has a channel that's called just Rerest, and then he has another channel that's called Hot Take that he would do with another
Right.
guy.
Is his name
Uh,
Sean? Is that his name,
yes,
Sean?
yes.
Right. Yeah, I
His
know.
name is
I know.
Sean.
Yep.
Yes, Re-Race is an amazing filmmaker, and he studied for that. So obviously his videos are such great quality, and he does a really good job putting series together about like worst consoles ever. I don't know if you've seen those series of like plug and play systems, and he breaks them down and just tells all the bad quality of it basically. So he's one of those guys that I've always wanted to, and I've spoken to him actually. Like we've spoken. I just have never, I guess, asked him to do something with me, but maybe I should. But he is definitely one of
Definitely.
those people that has been an inspiration to what I do, and it's basically because of the format of how he carries out his videos. His videos are more like what I do. It's like more from a journalism standpoint. So I feel like he and
Right.
I can understand.
I feel like I remember him. Wasn't he on a lot of the video game years episodes talking?
Yeah, yeah, actually, and he's collabed with a lot of different. I can't remember from the top of my head, but right now. So he's been around for a while. I don't know how many years, but he's definitely been around for a while.
Right. Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of his videos, especially the stuff he did on video game years. And do you enjoy that too? That the history of stuff, like you watch Norm Gaming Historian. Do you get into like the history of video games?
Oh yes, definitely. That's why I feel like I could connect so well with Pat, the NES punk, because within his podcast, they joke a lot and rant and stuff, but when they become like when they're serious and they want to share knowledge about a certain thing, yeah, it's definitely something that's useful and helpful. Another guy that I appreciate too, that I listen to him a lot, is Spawnways. Uh, he does more of a news format, but yes, it's definitely very beneficial. And Norm is amazing. And another guy that I love to listen to that he's very knowledgeable as well is Game Dave. I don't know if you've heard about his channel.
Oh yeah,
Uh, yeah, Game Dave is an excellent actor. And when it comes to, showing his format and the quality of his videos, yes, job too.
I just saw his last video that he made because he hasn't made a video in a while, and he's a teacher too. Um, and he's somebody that I just reached out to within the last week about an interview. But I know he's really, really busy. So, but
Yeah.
he just the one on his game room and all the lights.
Oh, yes. I just watched that. Oh my God, I so
That
want
was
that.
so how well done was that? Like he went into so much detail about each light and how it works, and you can do it with the app. And then he's got one part of his game room controlled with one lighting system, and then another. It was unbelievable.
It
And
was.
he's so funny, you know.
Yeah,
He
and it's natural. It's not like he's forcing himself to do it, you know?
right. that guy is got it. There's just certain people I've seen that I think should have been like on TV. Like Aaron Stapish from Pixel Game Squad.
Oh
That
yes,
and
Aaron.
has done stuff like that. He has done stuff like that before, but he's so just good on camera. And the same with Game Dave. It's like effortlessly
Yeah,
funny and dynamic on camera. Like they're
they have
meant to
that
do it.
charisma, that
Right.
charisma and that energy, that just positive like energy that is just I don't know. It's like I've always had good compliments, and that's what makes me feel good too. When I have certain people like come up to me and talk to me, and the first thing they generally always say is that they're like, you're always so energetic." It's like it doesn't matter how sad I am. I watch a video, and it's like I can't avoid, just for being happy, you know. And I think they do that in mind too. Like they're like, well, this is our goal. We got to entertain, so we got to bring out a smile to our audience. So if somebody's having a bad day, they just click on our video, for sure I could change their day.
And it does take a skill to do that, and it it takes a certain energy, and people that are good at that and you kind of turn that switch on when you film. It's like you kind of get the energy back you put forward, and it brings some out of people when they watch the content. And I think a lot of it's the enthusiasm, the enthusiasm behind it. Like
Yeah,
you can
true.
tell when somebody is just kind of mumbling to a camera on a video, and you can tell when somebody's like enthusiastic and really like passionate, and it comes through.
Yeah, definitely. It's so true. It's so true. And I feel like some people don't get that. That's something you learn throughout the years of, being comfortable in front of a camera and just learning how to be your true self. Because a lot of people know if you're faking it. Like, believe me, they'll see through it and they'll know. So when somebody's genuine, like people kind of know when they can connect with you. For example, when I record, I don't know what it is. It's just hard to explain, but I'm very down to earth, chill. But for some reason, when I record, it's like there's almost this adrenaline just rushing, through me that
Right.
it's almost like I become another person, And then once they're like, okay, 3, 2, 1, go, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's just, I feel good. I feel happy and I feel comfortable. So it's like I could be like my true self. And yeah, it takes a lot of work. It definitely takes a lot of work, but it also is like you said, it's what is your motivation? What is your goal at the end of the day? Because it's going to be shown through videos, definitely.
If you had to pick, do you have a favorite type of video to make? Like, do you prefer kind of a plethora of different things, like doing your interviews with people, doing like a collection review, or doing even a live stream? Do you like to diversify the content, or is there one like that's just your favorite? You prefer like the interviews or one or the other, or how do you feel about that?
Uh, oh God, that's a good question too. So I'm a person that I like to have variety on my channel. Like I'll give you a hint of what I'm going to talk about, but every single video is entirely different. Just because I get bored easily. Like I can't see myself making a certain uh line of content. You know what I mean? I just can't see myself doing that. If I were to choose one, even if it's hard for me, I do enjoy doing more of a talk show format. So anything like generally like let's say like how E3 IGN usually has their pre-show and everybody sits down and starts breaking news and just talking kind of like almost like a podcast format too.
Right.
If I were to choose one, I would choose kind of like that format because I definitely enjoy talking with other people that know what they're talking about and just giving out information that leaves the person at the end with the choice to make their own opinion and formulate their own perspective about something. So that would be something I would be a little bit more inclined to.
I hear you, and the thing about when you're talking with people and making videos is I look at it like my job is to not only showcase the person I'm talking to in the best light possible for their content, but also to portray something that people are not going to get just from watching that channel. Dig something up or find out some kind of nuance or information that you're not going to get just by watching that person's videos. Because that way, I mean, otherwise, why would you want to just watch a recap of what somebody does? You want insight. You want to know, like, behind the scenes, something that you didn't know before from watching that interview or watching that podcast or whatever it is. So that's like what I feel like. I don't know how when you go into like an interview. Well, that's a question for you. Like when you go into an interview with somebody, how much do you plan it out? Like what is your focus? What do you try to reveal about the person when you talk to somebody?
Uh, my main rule, I guess, is what I say to everyone that I interview. I'm like, I'll give you an idea, but at the end of the day, whatever goes, it's what's gonna go on the during throughout that interview. But also, like, my main rule is keep the conversation as organic as possible. So
Right.
even if there's errors or bloopers, it doesn't matter because it's still that person, you know? It's just how they are. And I think that's the best part when you just keep it organic because all of a sudden we might even find out that we share something in common that we didn't even know before, but we found out throughout the interview, you know? Like a perfect example was G to the Next Level. When I interviewed him, we were talking about Holy Grails. And all of a sudden, he knew I was a big fan of Miss Pac-Man. But then I started laughing because I noticed that he has some Holy Grail too with Sonic. And I was like, wow, it's interesting. We do share something in common. It's just different, but we both have our own little Holy Grails, you know. And that's how we found out, you know, in the middle of the interview. But it was because it was totally organic.
Right. And letting the interview go naturally where it's going to go and the direction it's going to go.
Yeah, definitely.
That's one thing that when you watch the news sometimes or you even watch like a late night talk show, right? It's it's
Sometimes, yeah, but yeah.
it's very like forced, isn't it? You see like an
Yes.
actor on a show, you know they're there because they're pitching the movie. You know the actor's got to say this was the best cast I worked with or I had so much fun in this movie, right? It all seems like just
Mhm.
that kind of scenario. It's not organic, almost. Like you look at it's very forced, and it's almost like what you want in an interview is the opposite of that. You want to just kick back and talk about the things that you want to talk about. Not they're almost forced there to just do a job, right?
Yeah,
When
it's
they're an
that's the
actor or
only
an actress.
thing. Yeah, it's the downside I have about television, sadly. Like, I mean, let's be honest, there's money involved, you know, so they have to produce a show no matter what and make it look good because I mean they need to have their ratings and I'm not even going to go to that because that's like 101 when it comes to television industry and media. But I do applaud, you know, YouTube and these different social media platforms for rising up because I think that what draws me the most to the platform is precisely that we don't need to fake it. We don't need to act like a PR. We don't need to force something to be unraveled and be produced. We could do our own thing, have our own voice, be ourselves, and then find out that we're not the only ones enjoying that, but there's other people that can connect with you and grow as a community, as a family. And it's so nice, and that's I've always mentioned this years ago, but that's why I'm so connected with YouTube because I feel like TV they don't have that intimacy. You know where I'm going? It's like there's not that
Yeah.
intimacy between the creator and their audience. It's just so vast. But YouTube is
Here's what
because I guess it's because uh-huh.
I was gonna say. What's amazing to me about TV and what you're saying is I'm almost surprised that retro related stuff they haven't taken a chance on because if you think about TV networks, right? they always put out all these pilots of shows, right? And so many fail. You know, somebody will get canceled in the first season. And it's so funny that the retro community had to be built on the back of YouTube versus any kind of TV corporation taking a chance or TV network taking a chance on anything, whether it be toys or video game collectibles. They never really have taken a chance on it. I mean, the closest thing we got is like Netflix doing Toys That Made Us, you know?
Which is a great series, by the way, but yeah, it's still not pure, as I could call it, you know?
Yeah, and it's like, I personally think why TV is like that is because, like you said, they're just focused on money, and they're not focused on the creative as much as like the viewer ratings and all that kind of stuff. They're not as worried almost about the content. They just want the numbers. They want the ad revenue, and when you go to YouTube, people can be more of themselves.
Yeah, because like you don't have that pressure. You don't have a crew. You don't have sponsors that you got to worry about. Like, don't get me wrong, you'll get your sponsorships and everything as an individual of a YouTube channel, but there's not that huge pressure of we're risking a lot when it comes to money compared to someone that's on the TV business, you know, on entertainment industry. They got a lot of risk, you know. So the pressure is real for them compared to someone that's just doing their own thing on YouTube. And it's just that, like, you don't have that person in the middle controlling what's going on. It's just you and your audience. So it's so easier to collect feedback of what people like and what they do not like. And then just better yourself, you know, better your content and then just grow. So it's a learning process with your community instead of just going with a script and just moving forward with that.
Speaking of, like, you know, personal growth, is there ways that you feel like you've grown through having a YouTube channel?
Yes. I've experienced a lot of downsides that, I'll be honest, till this day, I feel like I need to work on it, you know, and I think it's just a general and common struggle that everybody that does, you know, this sort of content struggles with. But things that have bettered myself as a person, personal growth, I've learned to have discipline. Because I'm not going to say I've never had discipline, but I was kind of slacking. And when you have a channel, it forces you to be consistent,
Right.
to think outside of the box, you know, and push yourself even when sometimes you're not feeling it, because let's be honest, we all are kind of like a roller coaster. It's not like every day you're, you know, super excited and motivated. There's going to be times that you feel burned out, you know, and you want to quit.
Right.
And those are the times that you're like, I'm going to have to push myself. I'm going to just sabotage everything and take it for granted. And I've been through those. A lot. But every time I'm about to, there's just always this person that comes up and sends you a message or says something. It just clicks again. And you're like, no, I can't let them down. You know, I got to keep moving. And yeah, so I definitely have learned to be a lot more disciplined. And I especially have learned about being comfortable being myself. I'm not saying I was fake, but in the beginning, you just don't know what to do. You tend to imitate other people, you know, while you're learning how the platform works and what you're going to do and what your content is going to be. You know, you tend to copy other people just because you think that, well, they're successful, so if I do the same thing, I'm going to be successful. And then you find out the reality of stuff, you know, algorithm and all that. So I just learned how to stop doing that and step out of that, you know, toxic cycle and learn how to think outside of the box and be myself and produce anything that I would truly enjoy. The way I see it is like when I produce a video that if I were to sit down and watch it myself, I would actually enjoy it. If I do not enjoy watching it, I'm not going to upload it on my channel.
Absolutely. And I feel that way. You know, I'm a musician, I'm a songwriter, If I don't feel like it's good, it's a good song, I'm not going to put it out because you got to have that
Yeah,
internal compass. You got to have that internal compass guiding you. Do you think is it the best? You ask yourself at the end of the day, is this the best work I can do? And then if the answer is yes, you know it's ready to share with the world.
definitely. Yeah, completely, 100% agree. On downsides, on things that, because I think it's good to be accountable to people. Downside that I think I still need to put work, and it's just a common struggle I think everyone has, is balancing your life with YouTube and work. You
Right.
know, like for those
Oh,
of us
yeah.
that do not live off of YouTube, that we have, our regular jobs. I'm a teacher. I got to learn how to balance my school job, my family, my relationship, being a mom of almost a teen now, and taking time to live stream and do videos. It's a lot. People think it's not, but it is a lot. So
It is.
learning how to create that, balance and covering everyone's needs and being successful in what you do, yeah, I need to put a lot of work in that. I'm not going to lie. That's still something I'm struggling with till this day.
And it's also about so much about time management, isn't it?
Yeah,
Scheduling your days that you're spending the right amount of time on the right thing.
definitely. Yeah, time management and even like, not even like worrying about so much about, well, yeah, covering everyone's needs, but even like having time for yourself, self care, because sometimes we don't think about ourselves. We just burn ourselves. And then once you notice and you realize it, we're tired. We're just
Right.
exhausted. And just learning how to take that time for yourself too is just so important. So I do share a little bit of my private life sometimes with the community, but some things I kind of keep it for myself because I feel like we should learn that there's things that are really valuable for us that we should keep to ourselves and just treasure within, the family. Not everybody needs to know about everything, and that's yeah,
Right.
that's a common struggle of everyone. Like I need to put something out, so let me just expose all the areas, including my private life and my family. And yeah, that's something I'm really careful and cautious about too.
There's something about the process too, as I'm sure you found, that the editing and then there's the rendering of the video and then you put it out and then all of a sudden after you put it out there's that it is a high that you feel. You got what the video you made, it's uploaded, it's out there, people are clicking it, commenting, liking it. There is a high to that as a creator,
Oh
as an
yeah,
artist or whatever. And then there's that high and then the high comes down and then that kicks in the creator side, okay, what next? And I think that it can be start to be an addictive thing because you want to get to the next video and then the next video, and it really does accumulate. And
it does.
like you,
Mhm.
and it's so important to give yourself those breaks to unwind, detach, get your creative spark going again because otherwise it's just such a grind.
Yes, yes, I'm guilty of that. I'm actually really guilty of that. Like I was like, especially when I live stream, it's like you're so worked up, because you're like having that energy, transmitting it to your audience and people giving love back to you, and it's just like you're just on a high, like you said. And then once you're done with the live stream, it's so hard to wind down, and it takes a while to like, okay, I'm done, let me sit down and now let me focus on my family and on my house. We're done. And it's just it's so hard sometimes because you're like, I can't even go to sleep. And I got to give myself some time because I don't even feel tired. And yeah, it's definitely important.
And especially when you're doing it all on your own, because when you have these bigger channels, they they dish out kind of tasks to their crew. They have somebody handling their social media platforms and they just focus on the videos. Or they have somebody doing their editing and they just focus on the filming. So when you're like yourself, you're doing it all yourself and all the pressure's on your back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hardest thing. Like right now, if you were to ask me what would be the first thing I would hire to make my life more at ease, I think I would highly hire someone that could handle everything that's on social media for me. Because I
Yeah,
feel like a big chunk of my time goes away just updating everything on different platforms and social media and always having that like constant communication with everyone. And I love to do it, but there's days that I do not want to be on Instagram or I don't want to be on Facebook. You know what I mean? It's like I just want a day off and do something else that's not requiring, updating my social media platform. So if I were to hire someone, yes, definitely. And if on second place, I think I would hire an editor to help me edit my videos and then just me focus on filming and putting the ideas together. But I mean, that's not my reality still right now, but hopefully in the
right.
future, right?
Now, in looking towards the future of your channel, and I know you've given us a cool spoiler with the J Love thing, but what are some content that maybe you haven't done yet? What are some videos that type of videos that you haven't made yet that maybe you're hoping you can do someday? What's on the horizon for you?
Um, there's something that I've always wanted to experiment with, but I be honest, it's kind of stepping out of my comfort zone and going into the unknown. And I'm kind of scared of it, but at the same time, I'm kind of intrigued. And it would be just creating sketches, these like short scripts, and always been interested in that. But I think like that requires a certain special gift. So if I were to work on something like that, I would definitely collab with someone that has way more experience than I do to kind of help me and direct my steps and creating these sketches. Uh, so that would
Right.
definitely be something I would be looking toward. But yeah, but overall, just bettering my content and also experiencing more how it feels like doing which I've been starting to do now, live streaming and doing long plays or speed runs or just pushing myself to different challenges that I never thought I was capable of. Like last time I played Cuphead in front of everyone live, and Cuphead is hard,
Yeah.
but it was like it kind of forced me of like, okay, you got to show your gaming abilities. Now's the time to show it, show off those skills. So it was fun because it's like instead of people belittling you, it was like you could do it, Crystal. You could do it, Zap. You got this. You got this, and just having people cheer on, believing in you. Yeah, it definitely meant a lot. So I am pushing myself to do different formats right now. Definitely more long gameplays, let's plays, first impressions. That's definitely a new area where I'm stepping into thanks to now being able to live stream.
And there's something about when you're out of your comfort zone, or when you're like you said, you're playing a game that's testing you, testing your patience, testing your well, mostly your patience, because you just want to. Sometimes you just
Yeah,
want to rage quit a game, right? Sometimes you just want to just
exactly.
you know, throw the controller on the carpet and just be like, enough, because you just get that at one point in the level you can't get past it, and it's that wherewithal to finish. And like you said, you got your viewers rooting you on, and sometimes you'll get the game beat, sometimes you don't, but it's like you gave it your best on stream, gave it your best effort, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a new area for me, and it's actually even I've even surprised myself. Like while I'm live streaming, I'm like, wow, I really did do that. Did I just play that? Did I just beat that? It's like it just makes you think. Like, wow, I didn't even think I was capable of doing that. Um,
Right.
so it's yeah, and definitely like also, like you mentioned, patience. Because when I live stream, it's not 30 minutes, it's not 20 minutes, it's 3 hours. So just
Right.
being consistent with the same energy over 3 straight hours, yeah, that's definitely a challenge.
Well, Crystal, we're at that point of the interview now. I'm going to throw it over to Brady. and we're going to see what questions from the viewers we've had. So, Brady, you want to take it over, brother?
Yes, sir. Awesome interview, Crystal.
Right.
Appreciate having you on here, man.
Thank
That's
you.
great. Yeah, we had a question from Mr. Dogbrain. He wanted to know if you thought the arcade one-up cabinets were worth buying.
Okay, yes. Okay, so we personally have several arcade one-up cabinets.
Nice.
The advice I'm going to give is if you are more of a purist, then you won't enjoy entirely these arcade one-ups because they're basically, ROMs run by emulators. So if you want something a little bit more pure, then I would suggest investing your money into, an authentic arcade cabinet, which is a little bit more long-lasting based on how it is built, because it is built for, just having severe long hours of gameplay compared to an arcade one-up. Arcade one-up, for me, it's more like a novelty.
A toy.
It's more of something that you would use to decorate your space. It's kind of like a wish come true back in the 90s of having your own arcade room in your house. You could play, a couple of times, but it's not something that I would consider to be long-lasting. So I guess, depending where you're heading and that mindset, you can analyze if it's worth it or not. We think it's worth it. We love it because realistically, I think it's within our budget and we can still enjoy our classics. And we really don't care if it's run on ROM or not. We're fine with it. Obviously, these are licensed, so we have no problem whatsoever with it. We just like variety in our case. But if you're not like us, then don't spend your money on it.
Nice. Yeah, that's good advice right there. And Ms. Ashley, she wants to know what your top 3 collectibles are that you own.
Can you repeat that again? Sorry?
The Ms. Ashley wants to know the top 3 collectibles that you have.
The top 3 collectibles that I have?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So my top 3 collectibles right now is, oh my God, that's actually a hard question. I need to actually go and see. Wait. So my top 3 collectibles is, I think it would be the McDonald's Flintstones mug, which I mentioned earlier. It also would be a toy figure that I have. It's a Miss Pac-Man 1982 wind-up toy figure. It's in its package and everything, and mint condition.
Nice.
And then something that's in a little bit more modern era is my Funko Pops. I have actually a full line of the entire Pac-Man series that came out.
There you go.
And I have all the Funko Pops.
That's awesome.
And I was going to say, what I love about those Funko Pops is they nailed the likeness. You know how a lot of the Funko Pops, they'll kind of look just kind of samey. The Pac-Man ones, they really nailed the likeness on those.
Oh, definitely. I even did a video on it where I'm reviewing a little bit more in depth those Funko Pops, because I think they did overall a good job, not only on the design of the figures, but in the packaging itself. So everything about it is just brilliant. And in my case, all of my figures, my Funko Pops, are in their boxes. Like, I'm not even going to take them out of their boxes.
Right. Well, listen, Crystal, it's been awesome having you on the show. It's been a great interview. I love hearing about your channel, your content, your videos. Thank you so much for coming, and it's going to be uploaded, this interview, in its entirety in the next 2 to 3 days. And all your links will be in the description, and I'll definitely throw you a link to that when it's uploaded. And thank you for being on our show tonight. It's awesome.
Yeah, keep in touch.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me.
All right, Crystal. Well, enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. Bye.